I get so much joy out of learning, understanding people and helping people and just pushing my own boundaries. Because today, as I was watching Eliud Kipchoge to break the 2-hour barrier, he said a great quote that, man, I got shivers when he said that. He said, I don't know where the limits are, but I want to go there. And I think that's brilliant. That's how I feel. And I think that's the beauty of, human potential and my own, that I don't think there are the limits. And so I can never really get bored. Or okay, now I accomplished that. I tick the box and, that's over. Now I need to focus on something else. So, but the point was quite in my early 20s when I realized, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm so much better than this. And that's where I started pushing.
Hello and welcome to the Who's Going to Stop Me podcast. Join us on an exciting journey to the depths of the human mind and soul of those who have been successful, of those who have been maybe where you want to go. I promise you one thing and one thing only by listening to this podcast, and that is a life that is more full, that is more exciting, and that will bring you more fulfillment. This episode features Tomas Svitorka. He is a leading high-performance coach and life coach. He went from making sandwiches to coaching billionaires. He's been featured in GQ magazine, in Vice magazine, and on Virgin. In this episode, Tomas talks you through why self-discipline and self-awareness are the pillars for your success. He talks through his precise coaching structure so that you can create the pillars that he has in his coaching in your own life. He talks about removing distractions such as television and social media so that you can maximize your life and truly live his philosophy, and that is, okay is not enough. It's a fantastic, inspiring episode with someone who walks the walk on a daily basis. So as always, grab a coffee, go for that run, have a seat, do whatever you want to do, but take notes and enjoy.
Hey Michael, absolute pleasure. Thanks for the great introduction, and I'm all yours, and I will share as much as you let me.
Many people in personal development have different labels, in terms of, okay, I run a company in which I'm a dating coach. So you run a company and you're a life coach, right? Would you call yourself that, or do you use another label?
So I would say market myself as a life coach. Obviously, it's a very broad area. Focus a lot on performance coaching. I will be launching soon a program that will be specifically focusing on developing self-discipline, because that's one of the areas that many people struggle with, if not everyone. And it's just so crucial for performance. But part of performance is not just about setting goals and being held accountable and just getting shit done. It also includes deep coaching. So part of performing well in life, or in your personal life, in your professional life, the big part of it is the mindset, and it's something I'm super passionate about. But overall, I think my key goal is to help people develop the lifestyle that they want. Again, whether it requires tweaks in their personal life or their professional life, but a lifestyle that's the ideal lifestyle, and being the best version of themselves, that's what I want to help them with.
And I see this one kind of bit of branding that's come up regularly, not bit of branding, but this one quote that a lot of your work is based on, and that's okay is not enough.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So where does that come from? It's a really cool phrase, and I think it's really punchy. It resonates with a lot of people. But where did that come from, and what does that philosophy mean to you?
Yeah, I'm glad that you call it a philosophy. That's really what it is. It's not a kind of witty, clever marketing, slogan or something like that. It truly is my personal philosophy. And if you think about it, the okay, why okay is not enough? Well, let me ask you this, or your listeners. If you went on holidays and to some resort and it was okay, and I mean not okay, it was okay, would you go back there again? Probably not. If you went to see a movie and it was okay, would you go and watch it again? Or to a restaurant and it was with something that you'll be able to relate to, and your listeners, if you went on a date and it was okay, would you go and see the person again? Probably not. Yet, many people live okay days and they live this okay life. Yet they don't do much about it. They just keep living or reliving the same okay day with their okay standards and with their okay goals and feeling okay. And, some people, there's this one guy, he always opposes me on social media. He said, okay, it's fine. That's very true. Okay is fine. But I get many people who come to me for coaching and they feel okay. Whilst okay may feel comfortable or more like convenient, it's rarely happy and fulfilling and exciting. And if you imagine 3 sort of levels of where we can be in life, I think okay is the worst place to be in, because in terms of making progress and being happy, being fulfilled. Because let's say on the top, it's the winning zone, when you kicking asses in life, when it's you're doing what you want, you truly living your days, you're pushing yourself, you're getting the results that you want. That's the best place to be in, because you not only that you're riding the wave, but it's exciting, it's fulfilling, it's joyful, and it's so much easier to keep going because your mindset is somewhere else. You see possibilities, your moods and your results are fantastic. And then the second best place to be in, I think, is actually the bottom. If you imagine sort of 3 levels stuck on each other, where the winning is on the top and the bottom, you may call it, the rut, or the bottom of sort of your situation. And people sometimes wonder why would there be the second best place? That isn't the one in the middle better? Well, no, because when you reach to that kind of shit of life, the rut, you can't stay there. You won't stay there too long, because it's just too uncomfortable. It's too painful. It's unacceptable to many people, and it will force you, when you cross that threshold, the bottom threshold, it will force you to do something about it. The question whether you feel like it is no longer part of, asking yourself, if you, for example, get fired, let's say you were thinking of getting a better job and you've been thinking about it for months or years, as many people do, but you didn't do anything about it because it was kind of okay, it was bearable, it was making some money, it wasn't too bad, but all of a sudden you get fired and you don't have any savings and you have to find another job. You see, now looking for a job is no longer a question of, do I feel like it? No, you have to, and that's why you never stay at the bottom for too long. And so that leaves us with the middle zone, which is the okay zone. And in the okay zone, that's where things are fine, things are okay, nothing hurts, there are no extreme urgencies or pressures and in pain, whether physical or emotional, and that's why people stay there. And I compare it to when you sometimes watch TV or you sit on the sofa in the cinema, you need to pee, but it's uncomfortable, but you can still hold it for a little longer. It's not bad enough to do something about it. No, I mean to go get up and go to the bathroom. And that's where many people are. They kind of wait until it becomes unbearable, and then they get up and they go to the bathroom. And this is how many people live their life. And you know what? There is actually a bottom part of the okay zone, which I call the zone of tolerable discomfort. This is where, honestly, when I share this with people, so many people tell me, oh my God, this is exactly where I am. It's when life sucks, but it doesn't suck enough to do something about it. And the problem with okay, and I lived for a long time in the okay zone, it's just that it's just so uninspiring, and people live with a feeling of, man, I know I could do so much better in life, but I'm not doing my best. I'm not pushing myself. I'm not squeezing the best out of me. And what many people don't realize is that, well, hold on, now you can do something about it now, but a time will come where you can no longer do anything about it. And that's always been my big fear of looking back one day with the regret that I could have done better in life. And it doesn't necessarily mean making more money, but it means, things that I wanted to do and really pushing my own boundaries. I knew that I had the potential, things I wanted to try, but I didn't because maybe I was too comfortable. Maybe I was making excuses. Maybe I was being lazy. Hey, it happened today. I don't know if you follow running in any way. Eliud Kipchoge just broke the 2-hour barrier for a marathon, 42 kilometers in 1 hour, 59 minutes and some 40 seconds. Absolutely unbelievable. And he surely doesn't live in the OK zone, that's for sure. So, hey, that's a long answer for why OK is not enough.
No, I love that. And I really loved how you broke that down into so much detail, because I think it's one thing to understand, I'm not fulfilling my potential in life, but then to truly understand why you maybe not taking as much action as you should do, and that you're kind of caught in between. Because I really agree with that philosophy of when you're being in the okay zone is worse than being in a place of like massive pain. I can relate to that on a personal level, because when I've been in massive pain, I've always wanted to change that. I've always thought, I'm going to do something about this because this is so uncomfortable. And one of my favorite Tony Robbins quotes is, the enemy of the great is the good. And that is like being stuck in that not mediocre, but being stuck in a place that's okay. And you're like, you know what, I'm kind of comfortable now. So I really relate to that. But I've also, even being someone who, runs businesses and has had a certain level of success and likes to push myself, I still find myself at times catching myself and going like, am I too comfortable right now? Like, am I just in that okay zone? Do you have any bits of advice for people who are listening to this who are maybe like, I don't know if I'm doing well, or if I'm definitely not in massive amounts of pain, but I don't know if I'm in that okay zone, if I can push harder? Is there any like telltale signs or any way for them to tell that they're not getting enough from their life and they can do more?
Absolutely. So, one thing is to sit down and imagine in 10, 20, 30, 50 years time, would you regret that you didn't try harder, or that you didn't push yourself more, or that you didn't try something else? It's not always about, pushing harder. Sometimes it's about, letting go of something that we're pursuing, whether it's a career or the wrong relationship or something, and, letting that go and pursuing something else. Again, I guess with what will be relevant to your listeners a lot. So imagine that you're in a relationship that is, it's okay. It's not inspiring. You don't really have a connection. You don't argue, but it's sort of, it's fine, right? If this is what they can ask themselves, hey, in 10, 20, 30, 40 years time, if, so we are in our 30s, so being 70, I guess the options will narrow down a little bit in terms of who we can date and who we can be with. Will you regret that you were not maybe more brave or more demanding, or had higher standards, and try to find someone who you would have the true connection with, or the passion would really be there? And it's one thing I want to say is just, it's human nature we are drawn to comfort, to being comfortable, because to the okay zone. Absolutely, because that means safety, right? When you're comfortable, it means there are no threats, whether it's in terms of physical threats, or in terms of food, money, career, whatever it might be. Like, over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, that's what helped us survive and our ancestors. It's the desire to feel comfortable, which means not doing risky things, not just wandering somewhere into the bushes, and get eaten by something, or you're just doing something risky. It's conformity, right? Not standing out too much in your tribe or little pack, because then you'd be kicked out or killed. And if you were kicked out, excluded, then you would die because you would starve, or something would eat you or kill you. And so we are drawn to the okay zone because that's a survival thing. However, in the times that we live in, we like survival. I don't want to say it's given, but it's surviving is so much easier than it was hundreds of thousands of years ago, when these drives have been establishing or being established in our I guess DNA, or in our brain. And so to go for that, or let go of the comfort zone, and embrace that okay, it's not enough. We have to a degree push against our own drives and our own nature, and this is why most people are in the okay zone. This is why the most successful people are in the top 1 or 5%, because of self-discipline, because of the drives and reasons why, because of the standards that they've set for themselves, they are able to do what other people are not willing to do.
I definitely think there is like an innate pull in us sometimes to be safe and to, oh, this is uncomfortable. I why am I doing this? Sometimes you're like, oh, I really want to push myself, and you're doing something new and crazy, and you get to that moment, you're like, holy crap, am I actually doing this right now? Totally. It's a great feeling, but it's truly outside the comfort zone. And I guess that's one of the indicators I give to my clients or anyone really, is if you're feeling comfortable all the time, then you know that there's no growth there. And if there's no growth, you're not staying at the same level. For me, this is my opinion, that if you're not growing, you're not just stagnating, you're actually dying.
Yeah.
You're recessing.
Yeah, totally. And to actually, sorry, I'm not sure if I answered your initial question. I get just so passionate about these things, so I sometimes go on tangents. But as you ask, what if someone is sort of pondering or asking themselves, well, am I where I wanted to be on that level, or am I just okay, and am I settling for something? So yeah, take yourself to the future and ask yourself, hey, would I regret not having done more or something different, or pursuing some other things? If not, if the answer is no, I'm happy with where I am, then great. One thing that, again, it's a human nature, we get used to everything very quickly, right? Which means we start taking things for granted, things that we dreamt about. So let's say someone is building a business, and the business start making millions, and if you do it for years, it will just become, I'm a millionaire or making millions, and it will stop being a big deal. It will stop being special to a degree. And so it takes a little bit of self-awareness, and to be reminding yourself how far you've come, and not just being swayed by the comparisons and what the Joneses are doing and what they have, but really knowing. I think the true answer to your question is I would suggest to do a lot of self-exploration and really figure out what is it that they want. And hey, for some people it is to just having a decent salary and travel the world. For some people it is to be the CEO of the biggest bank. For some people it is to have the hottest girl in the hoods. Whatever it might be, that's fine. Whatever it's for them, it's authentic. That's what they want. When they find it, that should be the kind of purpose of their life, until they may reach the point where they realize, well, you know what, I want something else. I want something different. I want more. Great. Go after it.
That leads me on nicely to my next question with you. When did you decide that okay wasn't enough for you? Did you have any specific moment? Obviously I've read and I know your history because I've known you for a little while, so I've got some idea. But when was it for you that you decided, actually, I want to strive for more, I want to create an impact in people's lives, what I'm doing right now isn't enough? Yeah. Did you have an epiphany moment, or was it just like, tell me about that?
Yeah, so I think I was somewhere 23, 24, and there were several of these points that I reached in my life, but I think the crucial one was maybe when I was 23, 22, where I was working in a catering company. I was making okay money at best, and it was inside of a bank, investment bank, and I'm quite extroverted, so I talk to people and I befriend people, and I was making somewhere over £1,000. This is 12 years ago, so and I genuinely thought this is what people make, maybe like £2,000 if you're a banker. And then I started talking to people, and I realized that holy crap, they are making hundreds of thousands, and they're getting millions of pound bonuses, and it wasn't about the money as such, but I had to admit to myself that I knew that I could do so much better. I had so much more potential than making freaking sandwiches, and I knew that it would take a lot of work. And there were some other events that I always say life slapped me as it can do sometimes, when things can come together. And I decided that I realized I was actually being, in a few moments, I was embarrassed about people asking, what do you do? Oh yeah, I work in a catering company. And at that time I was going out and dating, and it wouldn't be a problem if I thought I'm doing my best, but I knew I wasn't doing my best, nowhere near. And so here, I think YouTube was starting at the time, and I went online and I started going YouTube and Googling things and how can I make more money, and just these very basic questions. And that led me to personal development. And I became obsessed over I found this holy grail of just this realization, like, oh my God, I can actually learn all these life skills and become so much better and more valuable for the next employer, and just communication skills and dating, and with girls, how that goes. And I'm like, oh my God. And I became so obsessed. And I learned goal setting and communication skills and all these things. And within a couple of years, I progressed really fast in my career. And I became a manager in the company where I worked. And people around me started seeing the progress, and my housemates at the time. And they started asking me, like, hey, what is it that you do? You're journaling and writing some goals down and things like that. And yeah, I started sharing that, and I really enjoyed it. And again, I reached that point when I thought, hey, let's be honest, catering is not it's not where I see myself in the future. And so I went back to uni. I kept my day job. I was studying at the evening. I did part-time uni, and I studied psychology. And what led me to psychology was that the passion for personal development and mindset, and sharing that with people and helping people. And again, I finished the degree, and there was another point where I thought, well, I feel like I'm better. I could do better than being employed, work for NHS and being a psychotherapist. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not necessarily what I wanted. So I started exploring things, and that led me to coaching. And yeah, that was 6 years ago. And I continually push myself, and I get so much joy out of learning, understanding people, and helping people, and just pushing my own boundaries. Because today, as I was watching Eliud Kipchoge to break the 2-hour barrier, he said a great quote that, man, I got shivers when he said that. He said, I don't know where the limits are, but I want to go there. And I think that's brilliant. That's how I feel. And I think that's the beauty of, human potential and my own, that I don't think there are the limits. And so I can never really get bored. Or okay, now I accomplished that. I tick the box, and, that's over. Now I need to focus on something else. But the point was quite in my early 20s when I realized, like, oh my God, am I doing? I'm so much better than this. And that's where I started pushing.
For those people maybe in the audience that aren't as familiar with you, that are listening in, can you share with us some career highlights? Because I've looked, obviously, as I said, I know you and your background, so I'm much more familiar with you. But could you share some, I guess, the big highlights? I know that you were featured in GQ and other places, so maybe you could share some of your biggest accolades.
I really value, or I feel quite proud of, doing my degree in psychology, because clearly I'm not from here. English is, it's not my first language. And I was first one in my family to graduate at university. So that was one thing that I'm quite proud of. But in terms of my coaching business, a lot of things. So for example, when I started working with my mentor 6 years ago, and I told him during our first session, I said, listen, I'm going to be your case study. And you know what? He actually coached the guy. One of his students is, what's his name? He wrote the Miracle Morning.
Hal Elrod?
Yeah. So Hal Elrod was one of his students. And now my mentor, Jeff, he is promoting some things. He's doing like ICF certifications and things like that. And he has a landing page, and I'm there right next to this guy as a case study, as an example of what's possible. So I feel quite proud of that. And I've done all his trainings that he does. I have like 7 certifications, and I'm doing 2 more. I just literally, as I mentioned, I was on a webinar before our call. So I feel like I like to collect these things. But another highlight that I'm quite proud of is, so I went through business training with a global business training company. And I've done the first level that was 1 year long training. And again, I was featured as a case study. I won the award for my business. And then I did another sort of a next level of the business training that was also for 1 year. And you know what? They actually approached me because of my results with my business and so on. And they offered me to be a mentor, business mentor, on the training that I did several years ago in 2016, the first business training. So I'm now one of their mentors. These are some of these highlights that I'm really proud of.
Just to switch gears now a little bit, because I just know you can talk about so many different topics, right? Because you coach, as you mentioned, relationships, kind of business, performance, mindset. So let's talk a little bit about, one thing I love talking about is goals. Because I think having a clear direction isn't always enough. You need specific outcomes, and you need to understand where you want to go. And it needs to be measurable to some degree. Because I think people make that mistake of having a direction, but not having outcomes. And when you have a direction, it's very hard to know whether you've accomplished your goal, and you kind of can end up going around in circles. And one thing I think I've noticed from you is, out of a lot of the people I've interviewed, your goals and the way you've broken them down is probably like the most comprehensive that I've seen. So I'd love for you to maybe just explain how you set goals, and maybe give us some examples of how you do that, so people listening can like grab a pen and start thinking about their own goals and start implementing your philosophy of okay is not enough, and writing some tangible goals down. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds great. Setting goals and achieving goals, that's my big passion, as you probably noticed. And hey, you're right. If you probably saw on my website, I don't think many people do that. I got a lot of comments on that. Every year I set a bunch of goals. This year I have around 50, and I share them publicly on my website. And every month I share an update on my progress. And so in terms of setting goals, it's not just writing down, I want to make more money, I want to get a different job. When people do it this way, that's why the goals, why they don't achieve them usually, or why they just fall off tracks on the 17th of January after they set their New Year's resolution. So when you're setting a goal, as he said, it needs to be very clear. So there's this kind of framework of setting a SMART goal, which means S for specific. Like, what is it? So, for example, I'll use the marathon example. Eliud Kipchoge, maybe he set a goal. I want to run a marathon under 2 hours. So that's very, very specific, right? What would be non-specific goals? That when people say, I want to run a marathon, or I want to complete a marathon. It's just like, okay, are you walking? Are you crawling? Are you running? Are you driving? That's the more room there is for mostly you negotiating with yourself, or more room there is so you can take it easier, then you will, because that's just how the mind works most of the times. So S stands for specific. M, measurable. So if it's, for example, money, or if it's if you can define it really well, and like, how will you know that you reach the point? So sometimes people come to me and they say, I want to feel better. Well, what does that mean? How do we know that that we got there? And usually we can break it down into specific even like signs or kind of milestones or outcomes signs that will help them identify, yes, I'll reach that point. So that's SM. A stands for actionable or attainable. So it needs to be possible. If Eliud Kipchoge said, I'm going to run a marathon in under an hour, I very much doubt it's humanly possible. Even the 2 hours, many people question whether it's humanly possible to do it, right? Well, he showed them today. So R stands for realistic. So again, the goal needs to be you need to be able to achieve that. And T stands for timely or time specific. So it's by when. So the way I set my goals, I'm always very specific. There's a point where I know that I've reached the goal, and I always say by when. So for example, I would say I had a marathon goal as well. I'd say I will easily complete the Virgin Money London Marathon in under 4 hours. By I think it was April 28th. So that's a very, very specific goal. But many people can do this, and many people know that they need to kind of set goals like this as well. But that's just the goal. What's even more important is to figure out why you want to achieve that goal. What's your motivation? And I always encourage people to really spend a lot of time on this, and easily, and if they're new to it, or if it's a really important goal, then hours just journaling or thinking about it. Why do I want, let's say, a different job? Or why do I want to start a business? Or why do I want to be a millionaire? Because the why that's the source of strength and drive and power and energy that you will need to achieve that goal. The why will justify all the hard work and effort. When people don't have strong why, let's say, I want to finish a marathon in under 2 hours. Why? I don't know. I think it could be fun. Hey, that's just, trust me, that wouldn't be enough to put years of hard work, to justify years of hard work to achieve that goal. But for example, Eliud, he had his whys where he wanted to show that there are no limits. He wanted to be inspiration for people around the world. He wanted to bring attention to running because he's so passionate about running. He so believes in running as a sport, and just bring new blood to that sport, bring awareness. And he was talking about it. There's just so much. So really exploring the why. And you will know when you hit the sort of the vein of, wow, this is why I want to achieve that. If it's a really big goal, it needs really big why. And then when you know what you want and you know why you want it, that's when the fun part starts. You sit down and you start strategically think about, okay, how am I going to get there? So for example, I was running the London Marathon this year, and that's funny, when I shared it with someone, people often say, wow, you run a marathon, 42 kilometers. Well, that's true, but what people don't realize that I had to run 1,000 kilometers in the 4 months before that as part of my trainings. And I had to do, it was, I think, 75 runs. I was running six times a week, 250 kilometers a month. That's about 10K 6 times a week for 4 months, right? And I was using this app on my phone with very specific trainings. There are different types of runs that I had to do. Some runs were short, some runs were intervals, some runs were 30 or 35 kilometers long. And so I had very specific plan that I followed with all these milestones and all these small goals. So when you have this big goal, you need to break it down into milestones, whether it's yearly, monthly, weekly, and maybe even daily tasks or daily activities. Because this is what happens. I actually wrote an article that is called The Danger of Big Goals. And sometimes people set these big goals, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to build an empire. And because the goal is so big, what will happen if they don't have enough experience and they haven't broken it down into, okay, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow and the day after and so on. They get overwhelmed or intimidated by this big goal, and they're not going to do anything. So it's because they sit at home thinking, oh my God, I don't even know how to start a business, let alone building an empire. Well, let's wait until tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I'll get a better idea. But if you break it down into small goals and you see, okay, today what I need to do, I need to register my business on HMRC website, or I need to find myself a mentor and things like that. So breaking it down into these doable, manageable steps. That and the why and clarity of goals, these, I would say that's in a nutshell, even though I talk a lot about it, what that would be the starting point of pursuing a goal.
And I think you make some really good points there, because I do speak to a lot of ambitious people as well, myself, my clients, who are like, I'm going to be a billionaire. And I'm like, great, you're going to be a billionaire. And I'll say to them, how long have you wanted this? And they'll be like, well, for the past year or something. I'm like, okay, great. What have you done to get there? And they won't have done anything. And for me, it's like, it's great for someone to have that big ambition, and life isn't always about money. But then if you strip away and ask them, why do you want to be a billionaire? Very often they won't really be able to give you anything tangible, right? It'll just be kind of this like, it sounds good and it will put me among the elite. And then you're kind of like, well, what have you done to actually take that first step? And then they'll be like, well, nothing. I'm still working in my day job. And I think like it's a really fine line between having goals that are realistic and then not being ambitious enough in the long term. Because if they're too ambitious, like in the short term, then as you said, we tend to have this thing where we just get anxious about the goal and we don't actually do anything about it. Whereas if we set more realistic milestones, maybe if you say, look, I'm going to make my first $1 million, I'm going to set up my company first, or even make 6 figures to begin with from my company, then you can start saying, I'm going to make $1 million. And then after you've made $1 million, then you can say 10 million, then 100 million, and then $1 billion. Not, okay, I'm going to be a billionaire. And that's just how I love the conviction with which people say that. But for me, sometimes, and understanding why, do you need £1 billion or $1 billion? Why is that so important for you?
It only sounds good.
Because if you look at the people, if you look at the people that actually have accomplished that, the likes of, like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, they didn't go, I want to be a billionaire as like the sole driving reason behind their goal. It was more of a byproduct of them delivering huge value through what they love to do. One really interesting thing that I like about your goals as well is you segment them out really clearly into different areas of your life. So is there any specific areas that you'd recommend people have goals in? And how would you recommend people break their goals down in that sense?
It really, this is how I approach it with people. I would say, look, let's just segregate the key areas of your life, right? Because it's different for everybody. So for example, I have my business, I have my actual coaching practice, I have my profile that I'm building, I have my personal goals, I have health and fitness, I have relationships, and there's some other areas. It may be totally different for someone else. So I would say, first of all, just like sit down and think about what are the key areas of my life. Maybe it's health, maybe there is, it's career, maybe it's money, maybe it's relationships. And people don't have to work on all their areas at once. Maybe some of them are fine. Some of the areas, maybe they have a fantastic relationship. Well, great, don't fiddle with it. Don't, maybe you need to focus on your health. Maybe you need to focus on, on other areas. And so when you have these macro groups, then think about, great, what do you want to happen, or how do you want this area to change, to transform? Let's say if it's health, and they say, well, I want to be down to 8% body fat, right? Great, it's a really cool goal. That will have different facets of ways to accomplish that. They will have your diet, because hey, you can't outrun your fork, so you need to work on your diet. That will probably have its own set of goals. Then on your fitness, so working out and things like that, it will have certain habits, right? And so they're just like the health area. Maybe it's in terms of career. So someone wants to get promoted, or wants to let's say want to get promoted. Well, why is it not happening? So maybe they need to improve their public speaking skills so they can, really stand out during meetings. So that's its own category. Maybe they need to work on their self-discipline or work ethics, or maybe they need to work on their communication skills. And there's so many different things. But I would approach it from the kind of bird's eye view, and look at those areas of their life that need some work, or that they want to change. And then I would identify the sub goals that they need to pursue that will help them actually accomplish that overarching goal.
Brilliant. So there you go, guys. If you want to get cracking setting goals, I think there's some really good details in there that are often overlooked. So I'm excited to see those goals and hear about you guys. Don't forget to post a comment or rate us on iTunes, and just let us know that you're taking some of this on board. That would be great.
Nice. Can I add? Now, can I add something before? Just to something that you were saying, and it was a great point that you were making. Someone wants to become a billionaire, and there's this whole of course, exploring the why, and very often it just turns out to be just an ego-driven Instagram bullshit goal. But let's say it is they have a real motivation behind that. Okay, fantastic. How long have you been thinking about it? Oh, for 2 years now. Okay, great. Why hasn't it happened? Oh, this and that. And the great question that I ask my clients is, because you said it so right, Michael, the billions would be almost a symptom of something else that they do. So I often ask my clients, hey, who do you need to become? Who do you need to be so that you could actually make this money? What sort of value, what do you need to change about yourself? Because the reason why they don't have it is because they're not being the person who can have that. Whether it's because of they're playing it safe, or the actions that you're not taking, or and they're doing the wrong thing, or they just have really bad habits. I had someone in here not that long time ago, and he had similar ridiculous goal. I want to be a millionaire. I don't think he's a billionaire. And this guy was freaking broke. He was sleeping until 11 o'clock in the morning, then just hanging out with dudes. And I said, man, if I gave you a million right now, or billion, you would just piss it out. You would spend it on stupid shit. And in a few months' time, you would have nothing again, because you're not being the person who can achieve and maintain that asset, for example. Right. So really what happens, just as I was sharing my story, as you know, through your story and the clients that you work with, is that really the change that needs to happen is very often on the very fundamental level of who we are and how we see ourselves and how we approach life and what standards we hold for ourselves and what we respect and what we fear and things like that. Because once that's in place, man, I've seen people just crushing it. One of my clients is 21 years old and it's just ridiculous. This guy is a YouTube celebrity, has millions of followers across social media. He has 4 businesses. It's unbelievable. 21 years old. But when you speak to him or with him, it becomes very obvious why he is crushing it this much, because of just the way he thinks, the way he acts, how hard he works. 21 years old. I was making £1,000 and partying 5 days a week when I was 21 years old. And it's just, it really, who we are is the biggest variable in our success, how we think and all the values that we have and so on.
That's fantastic, and a great segue actually, because I wanted to ask about your clients, and I wanted to ask about what are the kind of you've seen hundreds of clients one-on-one at this stage. So I would love to know, what are the patterns you see? Like, what are the big issues you see that actually hold people back from getting everything they want in their life? Like, what are the big things? It can be mindset, it can be external. And then I'd love to hear your proposed solution to these common issues that you see, because you have a really unique insight. A lot of people that come to you are high performance people looking to do better, people that are already doing kind of okay, as we've spoken about, but they want more out of their life. So it'd be really interesting to see what are those common threads that you see and how you deal with those.
Right, it's a great question. So one that you surely won't be surprised by, knowing what you do, is self-confidence. It's just it plays so much in such a big role in our life, and very much related to it is that kind of imposter syndrome, that we feel like, oh my god, who am I to have this, or who am I to achieve that? And it's amazing. Hey, look, no matter who I've had here or who I've worked with or interviewed or had here for the initial consultation, and some of these people have been ridiculously successful. Speaking of billionaires, I worked with a billionaire. One of my clients was a billionaire. Even he had doubts. Even he was like, man, how is it possible that I'm making so much money, or that I have such a big company, successful company? He had a small team, 5 people. That was it. Everyone has doubts. Everyone, because we grew up, unless we were kind of forced that believe that we are the shit and we're the best one in the whole world. Like, there are a couple of people out there. Some of them are presidents. And most people grew up with this, with doubts and trying things and so on, and we still carry it with us we have the memories of being 8 years old and teenagers and insecurities and all these things, and everyone is experiencing it. And one thing that I've really noticed with successful people is that they're aware of it, but they're also aware of I'm feeling this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It doesn't have to hold me back. And some people are just throwing themselves out there. It's like, I want to prove it wrong. I want to prove to myself or disapprove that belief, right? And so that's a big thing. Just I would say self-awareness That's where, when we don't have enough self-awareness, when we don't spend enough time kind of sitting down with ourselves and going through our thoughts and maybe journaling and free writing and exploring our fears and limiting beliefs, and best way to do that is also coaching. So lack of self-awareness and then with it, I think this sort of emotional intelligence within ourselves. We all are experiencing, lots of emotions. They have very important role in our life and to guide us in our actions. But as I was saying at the beginning, they're very often driven by these kind of primal drives that are, to a degree, pretty outdated sometimes. Some of the fears that we have, like surely with your clients have experienced fear of rejection, like, oh my god, what if I talk to this girl and she turns me down? And when people have enough self-awareness and enough emotional intelligence, they say, yeah, okay, I know it will suck, I will talk to her, she will go get lost. But having enough of this emotional intelligence to tell yourself, yeah, but like, so what? Nothing that will have absolutely no impact in my life, because I can talk to another 100 girls and they may do the same, yet no one will know. Nothing will change about my life. Only that I will actually get better at speaking to people or women or managing my fear. So yeah, the self-awareness and emotional intelligence and knowing how to work with your own fears and self-discipline, self-confidence. But actually, yes, self-discipline again, not letting these drives that are constantly pulling us to comfort, being comfortable. In other words, being lazy, doing as little as possible. I always say to be as little uncomfortable as possible with the least amount of effort. That's where the drives are taking us. And having enough self-discipline to work kind of against them, or sometimes with them, but it's a little bit like a emotional aikido when you use that force in your own advantage. So self-discipline is just so important. I don't know one single successful person, and success may be money, maybe fame, maybe achievement of some sort, who wouldn't be self-disciplined. Because the journey to becoming successful, to get what you want, because what most people want is way outside of the comfort zone, way outside of the okay zone. And one needs a lot of self-discipline to crawl through that desert of pain and misery, which is often the way of getting there. And most people are just not willing to do that, and they sort of give up when it becomes uncomfortable, and they want to feel good right now. And this actually, that's a really good point as well. What I notice with successful people, and it kind of ties everything together, is that they are preferring long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Because most people that, again, you surely know, and we all know someone who is just kind of, doing the bare minimum. They just want to feel good right now. Okay, let me have that cake. Let me play Xbox or PlayStation. Let me watch another TV show on Netflix because it feels good right now. Why should I go to the gym? Yeah, I would like to have a six-pack, but man, it would take so long, and I would have to sacrifice all these quick joys and easy joys of life. And some people are just not willing to make the trade-off, and that's fine, because it makes it so much easier for the rest of us who are willing to put in the efforts, and because there's less competition.
Can you give any examples of, I guess, common things you see when it comes to the self-discipline aspect, like how people waste their time, or like kind of bad habits that people maybe not even aware that they're just like frivolously wasting their time or eating bad? Or can you give us some examples of things you see when it comes to these, because we're talking about self-discipline, right? So what do you see?
Absolutely. Well, first thing, television. Man, it just, when, I told you, when in my early 20s, when I went through this almost at enlightenment, when I went through this period when I had this aha moment of like, I need to stop wasting time. Because what actually happened back then is that I did this projection 10 years forward, and I thought, okay, when I'm 35, if I don't change anything, and in 10 years or 12 years time, what is my life going to look like? And hey, funny enough, I was with a friend in Selfridges, and downstairs there's this cafe, and I was sitting there with this friend, and she's an older woman, and she talks to everybody, and she's Polish, and we were served by this guy, older guy as well, in his like 40s, and Eastern European as well. And she started talking to him, and it turned out that he was Polish as well, and I understand Polish a little bit, and they had a quick chat, and he mentioned, I think he was like 43, and serving us coffee. And at somewhere in the sentence, he said, she asked him where he lives. And he said, with my roommate. And he mentioned some area, they have some house. And I'm thinking, holy crap. So he's in his early 40s, being a waiter, living with a roommate. And I thought, if I'm in my mid-30s, and I still, like, I imagine myself living the same life, doing the same job. And I felt so much shame that I thought, you know what, there's no way that I'm going to continue living like this. That's what gave me the push. And now, back to your question, was that one of the first things that I did, I threw away my TV. And I haven't owned TV since then. I haven't had TV for, 13, 14 years. Because it's so, the programs that you see in there, like millions and millions and millions of pounds are going into it for it to be designed to grab your attention, to keep you hanging from one episode of a show to another, and all the drama and all the TV show. There are some good programs, don't get me wrong. I love good documentaries and things like that, and occasionally good movie. But so one thing, in my opinion, massive waste of time, watching TV, especially when people just having it playing in the background. It's just noise. It's just distraction. Second thing is social media, massively. And it's okay to keep in touch with your friends, and it's okay to scroll through Instagram and follow certain things that you enjoy. But people spend hours and hours and hours on it, right? And so that's a time killer. And there could be other things, just hanging out with wrong people. It makes, again, at the beginning of this transition, what I did, I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And Dale Carnegie is talking about, your network and the people you surround yourself with. And I literally took a stock take on the people in my life. And there are quite a few people who I just distanced myself from because they were such a bad influence. And, sometimes the bad influence was just, they just didn't want anything more in life. They were so okay with just surviving or, living on benefits, for example, and things like that. So the people that you surround yourself with, they will set a norm. If, let's say, everyone around you smokes, then you will feel it's totally normal to smoke, or smoke weed, or if they take drugs, or if they drink and go out 5 times a week. You'll feel, everyone does that. Yeah, everyone in your network. So surrounding yourself with the right people. And again, working on your self-discipline. And it can start small, just showing up to the gym 3 times a week. And you know what? I think what's really important is taking pride in who you are and taking pride in how you do work. You may be I was in jobs that I disliked, to say the least, but always took pride in how well I was doing there. Like, even if I hated the job, I wanted to do the job right. And I think it's really important. And so yeah, but in terms of time wasting or the bad, because habits would be the social media, TV, even YouTube these days. People just get hooked on YouTube for hours and hours and hours. Be very selective. That's fine to educate yourself and so on, but just be careful what you feed your mind with, because it will set the norm. It will set the standard. It will affect how you see the world, and of course it will affect everything.
That was very powerful. Really, really powerful advice. One or two more questions before we wrap up, and I've really enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much. What's your process of working with clients? Because some people will be like, oh, okay, life coaching, I've kind of heard about it. It's kind of a bit mythical and mystical. What's your process when someone comes to you? How do you get them to where they want to be?
Right. First of all, my coaching is very sort of down to earth, pragmatic, very science based. I'm not a religious person. I would say I'm borderline spiritual. So I'm just saying that when you say sort of mythical, and I don't do crystals. And when I work with someone, we wouldn't be looking for your spirit animal on the third astral plane. That's not how I work. But
That's a shame.
Yeah, but how I do work is that I have these 3 pillars, and they'll be oversimplified. But the first pillar is clarity. I always work with my clients. It's where we usually start, whether it's the whole process of coaching or whether it's the session itself. It's just getting super clear on, okay, what's the result that you want? What are the changes that you want? Why haven't you got it yet? What's holding you back? What are you afraid of? And just getting super clear. Because one of the reasons why people are not making progress is because it's also kind of foggy. They don't know, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know exactly what is it that I want. And when it's blurry, imagine that you're trying to hit the target and your vision is all blurry. And there are lots of other targets. Let's say you're shooting at, I don't know, you could hurt someone. Let's say there's a target and there are people around it. Like if you see blurry, you're just not going to take a shot because you might hit the wrong, person, or you not the target. And so the first step is clarity. Super, super important. Just being clear. So many people get like such a powerful insight from that. Just such a big aha moment. It's like, holy shit. For example, I thought that I wanted this, but actually I want that. Or this is why I haven't got it yet. Or this is why I want it. Right? And so that's the first one. The second pillar is strategy. So when you know what you want and why you're not getting it and what's holding you back and so on, when we're clear on what you're after, we can start creating this strategy of, okay, these are the milestones. This is how we're going to get there. These are your daily activities. These are the habits that you need to have. These are the fears that we need to work on. And so having a strategy, it's like a map, right? Once you see clearly, you also, it's almost like a sat nav that it's taking you through the process. And I'm there, that kind of guide to help you navigate through that. And the third pillar is accountability. Accountability is so important because I guess many of your listeners may have, they're employed, so they have a boss. And the reason why shit gets done at work, why they deliver a project at a certain time, and why they have presentations ready is because their boss is holding them accountable. Like they have to deliver. But when it comes to their personal goals, no one is holding them accountable. So that's why they procrastinate with that, because other goals that had to get done, someone else is holding them accountable for, they are prioritizing these goals. So accountability is so important. And when I work with my clients, of course, I hold them accountable from session to session. But when I work with someone, I always say, I'm in your life for the period of time that we work together. I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on email. And with many of my clients, we have daily accountability. They're checking in with me daily. So to whatever extent they need, I'm super involved with my clients if necessary. Sometimes it's just a quick checking in. Yeah, I've done my workouts, or they send me some kind of screenshot of a spreadsheet. I had a client who wanted to be, he was a cab driver, and he used to sleep in, and he missed out on the kind of morning opportunity of taking people to work and missing out a lot of money. So we had a goal that he would send me a selfie from the cab every day at 7 o'clock in the morning. And he was doing that. And we did for about 2 months. And he just established a habit, and he saw the results of that. And he was making, a lot more money just because of those extra 3 hours in the morning. And then it had its own momentum. Like, I don't want my clients to need me forever, but man, accountability is just so powerful, because it makes it so much harder to not do something. And that's why I share my goals on my website. That's one of the reasons. Yes, I want to inspire people. Yes, I want to show people how I do it. But hey, I have thousands of people coming to my website every month. I got around maybe 60,000 people across social media that follow me, and a mailing list. And I share every month updates on my goals. So that's a lot of accountability. And me as a coach, I want to show that I walk my talk. So many of the goals that I set for myself, trust me, I'd rather not go through the process of accomplishing them. I want the results. But some of the goals are really hard. But the fear or discomfort of being seen as a coach, like, he's a coach and he's not even accomplishing his own goals. Like, the idea of that is so painful that I'd rather get on with the work that I need to do to achieve that goal than facing that. So it's a clarity, strategy, and accountability. And in terms of my kind of coaching method, I always say it's on the spectrum of, on one end, I do performance coaching, which means it's very much goal-driven accountability, kind of getting shit done, very, very like habits and self-discipline and all this stuff. And on the other end of the spectrum, I call it deep coaching, where we really kind of get into your head and we work on that mindset, on the fears, on the self-image, on the integrity, on your fears and all these limiting beliefs and things like that. And honestly, anything in between the deep coaching and the performance coaching.
Wow. Clarity, strategy, accountability. I love that. That's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Tomas. Before we wrap up, what does the future hold for you? Obviously, everyone can go to your website. They can see your goals. Maybe you can tell people about where the best place is to find you as well. But where do you see yourself? What does the future hold? Any big, exciting projects coming up?
Yeah, totally. So first of all, people can find me and see my goals and read more about me and or get in touch through my website. So it's okayitsnotenough.com. And you just go there. There's a lot of great free stuff. I have a lot of resources, ton of articles and videos. People can take Lifestyle Scorecard, which is a fantastic thing that I created after 7 years of coaching and working with hundreds of clients. That it's an assessment that you take. It's for free. It takes about 10 minutes to do it, and then you will receive through email a report, and I call it the Lifestyle Scorecard. That it basically shows you the key areas of life that throughout my work that seem to be the most important on someone's kind of success and lifestyle, and how strongly or weakly you score in these individual areas. And you get lots of kind of tips on what to do and what not to do, and there's like a follow-up with a few emails that actually will help the people that will take it, your listeners, to give a lot more insight and some of the goal setting and so on. That's all for free. People can go and take it. There's also a report that they can download for free that is called 7 Mistakes That Keep You Stuck in Average. Really valuable stuff. So that's my website. And in terms of my future, so on top of obviously growing my business, I will be launching most likely in January a group coaching program that is called Unbreakable Self-Discipline Bootcamp. And I'm super excited about it because I've been working on it for such a long time, and I've packed in all the best strategies and skills and habits and tools that I had, or that I have, or that I know, that will help people develop this unbreakable self-discipline. And we talk about, how to create a irresistible goal, how to develop that winning mindset, how to build unstoppable motivation and laser focus, how to build that toughness that you need, how to bounce back when we fall off the track, because that happens all the time, and also how to accelerate your growth. So there's so much more. It's a very quick overview. I'm actually sharing with you something that is not even live yet, but I will be soon revealing the landing page for that, with where people can register their interest if they would like to know more and potentially would want to be on the program. I'm super pumped about this. I so believe in self-discipline and how important role it plays in not just in our success, but in our life in general, and happiness and fulfillment.
Well, it truly sounds like a brilliant program, and you are one of the coaches that truly walks the walk. And it's been amazing to see your journey, and I just have no doubts in my mind with the level of execution and your strategic the strategic things that you're doing in business and beyond, that you're just going to keep growing. So thank you very much, Tomas, for coming on the show, sharing your insights, and definitely everyone highly recommend going over to okisnotenough.com, checking out the awesome tools and reports that Tomas has put together for you. And thank you so much.
Michael, hey, such a pleasure to be on your podcast. We've known each other for such a long time. And hey, you may not know, but you were actually a source of inspiration for me as well in my early days. And hey, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on your podcast. And I hope that what I shared is going to be valuable and to your listeners, and gave them something to think about.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go over to iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify, subscribe to us. If you think we deserve a 5-star rating, then please leave us a rating. We also have exclusive show notes and bonus content over at whosgoingtostopme.com, so I highly recommend you check that out. For daily lessons and nuggets of advice, please head over to our Instagram @StopMePodcast. Until next time.